Microsoft Activision deal moves closer as a judge denies the FTC injunction request. We don't got to go through the article. The whole point is this deal is getting done. Let's start off with you, VITALY, because you came in a little bit late. Raw thoughts on Microsoft having their way, bending over the United States government.
I actually, what did you just say? I totally.
You zoned out.
Basically, Microsoft.
This is when we were at dinner at Cheesecake Factory, just zoned out.
Just zoned out.
Microsoft can acquire.
Microsoft bought, or they're getting closer to paying $75 billion for Activision.
Oh, so they got approved by the courts?
It's a big acquisition, bros.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to Carlos.
Move on to somebody else. I wasn't paying attention today.
Huh?
What were your thoughts on this deal?
I think that at some point they have to pretend to care about some sort of antitrust or anti-monopoly laws here, and this just goes to show that your money rules the world. This is obviously not good for us or for the markets, but Microsoft got it done because they got the right people their money. It's as simple as that. This is politics as usual.
Okay, Chris, any thoughts on Microsoft getting this done?
I mean, we're becoming more oligarchy by the day, bro. These are the real people who control the planet and control the world.
Do you think it should have been stopped?
Yeah, I think so.
Really? Why?
I want to show you. Can you just share the screen while you guys talk? Like, this is just look how few companies actually own everything. This is these are beauty companies. This is the food that you eat. This is the companies that control like all the food that you eat, right?
Yeah, they own all the sub brands.
I mean, so you think that you would think that say Coca-Cola and Zyco coconut water are all different. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? It's an illusion of capitalism. It's not really capitalism, like to Chris's point. It's a little.
Chris, why should it have been stopped?
Well, number one, it's you have one independent publishers being bought out by these large companies, and that means that any other now publisher is going to have to compete with the backing of Microsoft, and basically Microsoft can lock out so many other competitors from coming in or even providing a platform. Like, think of it right now with Activision right now. Let's say Activision is its own brand, its own thing, trying to do its own thing. And Microsoft now just comes in and says, you're going to do things our way. Otherwise, we won't put you on our platform. Now all of it is just going to be concentrated in one company. It's not. I never liked the idea of all the power and all the creative juices being sucked up by one company or one industry, like in that specific industry. Like you should have level of independence, and have businesses stand on their own. Because now anyone new publishers coming around, if you're on the Microsoft blacklist, you won't be able to succeed.
I mean, look, it's a fair point. All the video games in the world are going to have to, it's Epic and now Microsoft with Activision Blizzard. For Microsoft shareholders, this is great, though. I mean, this is like absolutely phenomenal for Microsoft. So that brings up the question. Do you guys think, Satya Nadella said 500 billion in sales just because of AI in 2030. Where do you think, I just wanted to take this story as an opportunity to discuss, where do we think Microsoft is 7 years from now? Market cap is about 2.9 trillion, 2.5 trillion right now. Owning the gaming industry, cloud computing is getting bigger. 50% of OpenAI. Any thoughts on where Microsoft is in the next 10 years?
I mean, why do we even have elections anymore? Why? Well, why don't we just ask the heads of Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft? I mean, and like some of these big companies, who they want in charge? I mean, what's the point of even having an election anymore?
But that's essentially, that is essentially what's happening. I don't know if you saw, but I posted that. I posted something that I found about Warren Buffett talking about how to fix the deficit. Can you pull that up? Did you see that, Amit?
No, I didn't see it. It's on Twitter.
Yeah. It was like one of my last. But I just saw something. I quote tweeted it. And this to me is how you control government in a nutshell. You'll see it. It's a quote from him.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
Yeah, Freudian slip. Just ask BlackRock. But yeah, we'll play this and then you get into it.
Are problems that have built up over decades, and there hasn't been a Congress that's been mature enough or a president that's been mature enough to take this head on.
I could end the deficit in 5 minutes. You just pass a law that says that anytime there's a deficit of more than 3% of GDP, all sitting members of Congress are ineligible for re-election. Now you've got incentives in the right place, right? So it's capable of being done. And they're trying to use the incentive now that we're going to blow your brains out, America, in terms of your debt worthiness over time. And that's being used as a threat. A more effective threat would be just to say, if you guys can't get it done, we'll get some other guys to get it done. And it
New. These problems.
And that's the point. His roundabout way of saying you have to incentivize the behaviors that you want. Congress and the members of Congress can invest and buy and sell stocks. So they're going to do what's in their best interest. Just like you and I will use whatever little lever we can. If you know someone in a specific industry, you'll try to use whatever leg that you can up to be able to get better returns. These guys are in the fucking Congress. So you don't think all of them? We should look and see how many of these people are holding Microsoft stock, right?
We should.
How many of these guys are holding Microsoft stock?
And even if they're not, vote,
how many of those are in their ETFs?
That they can't even vote not to buy individual stocks, okay, just to make that illegal. So you think they're going to change and actually vote themselves out? I mean, like, this is absolutely never going to happen.
There needs to be some better term limits, man.
No, but House of Representatives.
Let me play devil's advocate here. Is that actually the reason for the corruption in Congress to the benefit of America having the most prosperity, which is that if the Congress people can't fuck the companies, nothing's fucking the companies, which means the shareholders are going to get their money no matter what. That's
if you own shares in Microsoft. If you don't own shares in Microsoft, you can't afford to have shares in Microsoft or BlackRock or any of these other big companies. You don't have that kind of disposable income. You are forever just a slave. You might as well just say, hey, I am a slave, because that's what you are. All you're doing is literally subsiding in the economy. And there's plenty of people right now that are living paycheck to paycheck. Their biggest aspiration in life is that one vacation a year. That's it. There's no plan for retirement. There's no plan for the kids to go to any decent schools that they want to. All it is wake up, go to your job, be a fucking drone, and then come home and that's it.
But Chris, don't you think that's on the individual to get educated on how that?
No, that's not how it works.
Can you bring up Johnny's quote at
no, that is how it works, because we talked about this before. We don't teach people financial education at all, right? In school, there's nothing that's going on in our schools that teaches them to prepare them for actual life, right? So that's the first step. And when that changes, I think we can have other changes that are more significant. But if they don't want to change that, that's what keeps. That's what keeps drones.
What is there? There is no incentive for them to teach those people those things, because
that's what I'm saying.
When you come out of school, they want you to be a worker that gives all of your life from 18 or 20 years old till 65 to some random fucking company that'll get rid of you at any minute, right? On the hope that you'll get a pension or whatever it is, right? Or that you'll have your 401k and they'll pay 10,
but that's the point of investing in the market, to have actual equity of it. So that's my point, Chris. Don't you think people should just like try to get self-educated and get themselves out of this kind of work gloomy lifestyle? Like,
not everyone has that luxury.
How did you first, Amit, how did you hear about the stock market?
I downloaded Robin.
No. That was long before. How did you first hear about the stock market, that there's stocks that I can buy in companies? Where was that idea introduced to you?
Was that in school? That's what we're asking.
I went to business school, and I swear to God, not once did they actually mention.
So where did it come from? So even for you, Chris and Vitaly,
I think it was my uncle in India. To be honest, it was my uncle.
He's the guy that said to you, you should invest in stocks.
Because he has a big U.S. equity portfolio just in U.S. ETFs, and so he mentioned it to me. And when I went to India in 2019, I downloaded.
How old were you?
21 at the time.
Okay, so before 21 years old, no one.
I never heard. I didn't know what a stock was. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No. What about you, Chris, with Vitaly? How did you hear about the stock?
I think Amit learned what a stock was when he bought Palantir.
No, I learned what a stock was when I bought Purple Biotech, and these motherfuckers did a reverse split on me, and I was like, "Oh, that's what a stock is."
That's a yeah.
But honestly, sometimes you have to have skin in the game in order to learn anything.
So. It was a good experience. I still hold the stock today. They had a PR.
I learned about the stock market in the 9th grade when, like, literally one of our teachers. This was the year 2000. What he did was he made us every day look into the newspapers, because back in the day, no one really had computers like that, and go to the New York Times and then get the price of the Dow Jones Industrial, and then on graph paper, write down, like, literally just take the price and like mark it, and basically showed us like, oh, this is what the stock market is. This is how it goes up. And that's like your ownership over a company. And so he did like show us, it was like economics, but it wasn't like a hardcore thing that was really like brought up multiple times. But let me just say this. We are privileged people that have the ability to have additional income, whether that's through our own toils and labors, okay, whether it's through our own trying to find understanding in the market or whatever to try to better and educate ourselves. we are not most Americans. Okay. Like there's still very few people that invest in the stock market and end up doing well in it. Okay. Most people are still like literally have enough to eat and have a place to sleep, and that's it. Like we have to think outside of that and say, okay, for the general public and general economy, what does this mean? And let me tell you, I'm a capitalist like there is no tomorrow. I wish I could extract the blood and sweat out of every single person and use that to build myself an empire. But that is an unsustainable business model, because eventually the peasants will rise up and fucking drink our blood. You do not want that. You want the peasants to be under. You want to give. You want the peasants to have enough so that they can actually have a decent life.
Somebody's been watching the Napoleon trailer too.
First of all, Chris, I agree with you. And there should be, first of all, like I keep saying, everyone has to learn a bare minimum of financial education. Okay, they just have to. That should be just part of the curriculum for better society. And after they do that, they can. So it's not every peasant is going to become obviously a billionaire, but at least they'll have some sort of a nest egg being built up. That's what we need, where people can have something when they retire as opposed to nothing. And then the system has to support those people. So I know government is actually not for basically teaching folks, because I think they do want this sort of slave class. I think they do want it, because otherwise they would just change the system easily. They would say every school, every federally funded school has to teach basic financial education. That's it.
But basic financial education is like balancing your checkbook and like basic home economics. It's not.
Well, no, it could be like, okay, guys, you need to learn about the stock market, and in terms invest in just ETFs and like VOO. It could be something simple. It doesn't have to be very complicated. Everyone should start that on their 16th birthday or whatever it is. And that could be like a class you take, and then you open up an account and you do just simple stuff like that. This doesn't have to be hard. It could be like $10.
I'm sure those things exist. They're just unfortunately not
in my high school.
They're not. It wasn't mandated. I mean, but just to get back to
that's the only way to change the future. It's not through like giving out. It's not just like giving away money or doing
But we've already established that this is the future. It's like the Warren Buffett thing. You're incentivizing the behaviors that you want. So you're not teaching people, because the behavior that you want or the outcome that you want is a slave class that basically works and gives their money to companies like BlackRock, who will invest their money on their
wouldn't the United States
and take all of the voting rights?
Wouldn't they want all 300 million people to invest in stocks? Because that just means the stock market's going to get a shit ton of capital.
No.
What's the reason they don't want that?
Because if you know how markets work, first of all, you're then onto how markets can be manipulated. If you have any sort of education, you understand how markets are being manipulated, and you can start to trace the breadcrumbs back to the problems that we have in society and how it traces back to money. As a matter of fact, the campaign that's been put out there is to hate the billionaires and hate the accumulation of money. What they teach you in school, people that hate guys like Elon Musk, like, we've said this before. Every generation has their hated billionaire. It used to be Bill Gates, then it was Jeff Bezos, now it's Elon Musk's turn. And why do they do that? So that you can hate billionaires and hate the accumulation or the desire to accumulate money. Because they teach you that in order for them to make their money, they had to take something from you. The people that invest in the stock market know that's not the case. All you need to do, it's a machine to transfer money from like the impatient to the patient. That's what
AOC should be telling people to buy stocks, but she's
instead of saying not to, right? She bought a Tesla, but she's not advising to buy stocks, which is ridiculous.
She bought. You don't think she's
Tesla?
And her what is her net worth now? Someone can look it up. I think it's $8 million.
This was a couple million.
It's 13 million Queens, dude.
Well, also
you gotta write books.
Someone goes from being a waitress to a net worth of $8 million. That should be like, wow, like that's amazing.
That should be celebrated, but for her,
should be celebrated.
But her success. This is what's so fucked up about it is her success is celebrated. She did it. She made it. But she's now part of the millionaire class. And you understand how backwards it is? The same people that will praise her for coming up out of that will shit on someone like Elon Musk just because he has more money.
It's too much.
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
It's like Elizabeth Warren on her fucking private jet. It's like, bitch, you're gonna tell me about the climate and you're just getting off your private jet. Like,
did you see the?
Did you see that? You're talking about the Spain thing, right?
Are you saying that because of the chick in Spain?
Bro, there was the lady in Spain who was going to a climate conference. Bro, let me explain.
Pull it
this
up,
lady went on a
best thing ever.
She went on a private jet to come to a conference. She's the prime minister of Spain.
She's the prime minister of Spain. Yeah, she was
prime minister of Spain. She's a socialist. She's going to the climate conference. She gets on a private jet. She gets off the private jet. She gets on a bike instead of a limo
Oh, God.
And
the
that's what they
media's
put on the
covering
news.
it, and
Vitaly,
then
that's what
she's
they put on the news. Is her on her bike.
So ridiculous.
Like,